Welcome to the Beau Show, the home of faith, family, and freedom. I'm here in Orlando at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, where people of all walks of faith come together to break bread together, share fellowship, and listen to speakers who help the overall mission of faith-centered media. Governor Ron DeSantis kicked off the convention as he has been a governor that has been very proactive when it comes to protecting those who want to practice faith freely, especially during the pandemic. And the conference also featured a very faith-filled speech by Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who talked about the ways that cultural Marxism has attempted to destroy all sense of worship and faith in America, when in fact America was founded and rooted in a divine purpose. Hawley pointed out that the first nation ever created was biblical, when God called Abraham to form a nation of his people. In this respect, the first nation was a sovereign nation. It was divinely inspired. It had a mission and a purpose. Similarly, when Abraham Lincoln was president, he also believed the United States was a sovereign nation and purpose-filled. He thought God would lead the nation through the turbulent period of the bloody Civil War. Our founders also saw this same divine purpose. So what America represents really is a promise and a fulfillment of what sovereign, inspired nations can do. We became the land of liberty. And just like the Israelites were set free from bondage, America ended the practice of slavery and enshrined the practice of religious liberty so that people of all faiths would worship freely. We celebrate Thanksgiving every November to give thanks to a providential God. We take the holiday of Easter and Christmas to honor the significance of what Christ did. Now, modern culture has tried to destroy that. They secularize every holiday and remove all signs and connotations of the religiosity or spirituality of these holidays. They removed prayer from schools, pointing to the separation of church and state. Court cases arose around whether school coaches could pray at the 50-yard line with their players, and those coaches actually won their cases on religious freedom grounds. The city of Boston removed a Christian flag from its public space, also citing separation of church and state. But the whole point of their civic program was to hoist the flag of a different local group each day, with the statement that the flag was not an endorsement of the group. They just specifically targeted the Christian flag. The High Court ruled that Boston was in error and had no right to remove that specific flag. They had unfairly targeted one religion and one flag. So you see that these decisions are having to go all the way to the Supreme Court because local and state governments have become hostile to religious entities. That means that just to pray and express your faith is now verboten unless you have the courage and the money to take this up to the Supreme Court. Most people don't have the time, the energy, or the money to do that, so they just back down. That's what progressives want to do. They know it will be a legal battle, so they hope you'll just drop it. But these legal victories are proving that when religious freedom is being challenged, oftentimes religious freedom is winning. The whole irony of this is that the practice of religion and faith is a deeply personal practice. It's between you and God. No one should interfere with that, and certainly no government. Most of those who are religious want to just practice their faith freely. Sure, they may want to share their journey with you and hope that they may give you hope and courage and salvation, but it's always a choice. What secular society wants to do is remove that choice. They want to steer the culture away from the possibility of a creator. The doldrums of alcoholism, drug abuse, domestic abuse, depression, mental disorders, gambling, infidelity, and addiction can be mitigated by faith. But rather than steer you to salvation, society would rather you just hyper-indulge. When you see a celebrity come out of the pit of darkness, oftentimes it's the result of them finding their faith. Chuck Negron of Three Dog Night did this. Influencer Black China did it too. But those folks are not going to get the coverage they deserve. Media will bury that and find it boring. But because there is redemption in a life that has been saved, we have to examine the power of prayer. Most people only resort to prayer when it's dire circumstances, when things are bleak, when that bad news comes from the doctor, when you're on your deathbed. But what happens if prayer becomes a practice and a priority? What if prayer could change your daily countenance and outlook? What if taking that time out of your day could change your day and your night? As someone funny once told me, I could use the prayer, and you could use the practice. At this conference, I was able to speak to Mike Lynn, a co-founder of Pray.com, a new app that has revolutionized how people pray. In a world that has become addicted to social media, they have found the balance between digital and spiritual. Your phone doesn't have to be the devil. You can listen to Bible stories at bedtime. You can see videos that bring biblical scriptures to life. You can have a daily devotional, and you can even read the Bible in 1 year. Mike had some very interesting data and revelations about what prayer can do, and it's worth your attention. Here's Mike Lynn of Pray.com. Well, Mike Lynn, thank you so much for being here with me at NRB in the NTD booth. Mike, you co-founded Pray.com in 2016. You met co-founder Steve Gattina at an entrepreneurs conference in Southern California. Tell me what that meeting was like and how it led to Pray.com.
So I was working at Merrill Lynch for 13 years, and so I'm the guy in the suit in the back at a tech conference, which is not something you want to do. You want to be the guy at the t-shirt, and jeans. But I'm sitting in the back of this conference. It's for UCLA, USC entrepreneurs. There are a bunch of panelists. And so they're telling us about their journey being an entrepreneur. And I'm listening in the back, and this really tall guy stands up, and he's got this booming, dynamic voice. And I'm going, who is this guy? Like, this guy is a dynamic speaker.
Yeah.
And everybody's starting to ask this guy questions. And I actually felt bad for the rest of the panelists because they were just kind of being ignored at this point. And I just looked at this guy. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but he went to USC. I went to USC. I'm going to approach this guy after this conference and just be friends with him. He seems like someone I should know.
Yeah.
Then what happened was we became friends. I was working at Merrill Lynch at the time.
Now, were you a believer at the time?
Yeah, I'm Catholic background. So
Okay.
that, for me, that's innate. That was always something that was, who I was. But for Steve, that's not his background. His mom is Jewish, his dad was Catholic,
Right.
and his his grandma used to drag him to church, and so, it wasn't part of something that he was excited about. He kind of liked computers and sports more than he did his faith.
So it's kind of like it's an unlikely thing for both of you, in a way, to come up with this. Well, the idea behind the app is to cultivate a daily routine of prayer as a priority. Why do you think that's so important?
Well, building a daily healthy habit is important in general, right? You don't want to do things that are destructive. So let's find things that are healthy. Good news, prayer is healthy. And not only is it healthy, it actually changes the gray matter density in your brain. It's really unique. So when you pray on a regular basis, the gray matter density in your brain changes, specifically around emotional regulation. So if you think about it, you're training yourself around being more emotionally cognizant. And then it becomes innate. Then you become, I don't need to feel as much anxiety because my brain has changed physically to make me feel better. So a daily prayer practice physically will make you feel better, but also emotionally. You know what happens when you feel better? You're going to treat people better.
Yeah.
And those people are going to treat people better. So daily prayer habits critical.
With the app, you can read the Bible in a year, or you can listen to biblical stories read by some very prominent narrators. As a matter of fact, I've seen them there. Tell me some other ways the app is interactive.
Yeah, so there's video content, right? So if you just want to watch, some content and see what people are saying as well, get our video content. If you want to have an experience where you get to read the Bible and find a story in the Bible that's interesting, we've got a little link that'll click you out to a story, an audio story, that can actually explain the whole story to you in a very cinematic way. Reading the Bible, super important. Also getting a story, a very cinematic experience around the Bible, very important. So when we built Pray.com, we wanted to put you in an immersive experience, a cinematic experience, not just, reading the text, but can the text come to life? And with Steve's background in cinema, he had worked in Hollywood, and he had done aerial production in Hollywood for directors like Michael Bay and the biggest ones. He understood what content needed to be in order to get people interacting with it.
Well, many people, will just not pick up a Bible and read it. And I'm actually curious, do you even know how many Christians have admitted to even reading the Bible? It's probably pretty small.
I don't know, but I understand why. If you read the KJV Bible, which we do have in the app, it's difficult to read.
Yeah.
And so sitting and having a habit where you actually read page by page to page, it can be difficult, which is one of the reasons we actually created a podcast called Bible in a Year. And so we have a podcast, Bible in a Year, and we have Jack Graham on it. And so every single day you get to hear a story in the Bible. So let it be told to you.
Keep watching at epochtv.com/The Beau Show.